Yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Chair recognizes the lady from California, Ms. Eshoo, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Mr. Chu, thank you for being here today. As members of Congress, our very first and top responsibility is to protect and defend. Protect and defend our Constitution and the national security of our country. So I view this entire issue, now there are many parts of it that are not part of our national security, in my view, but first and foremost for our national security. So in examining TikTok breaking away from ByteDance, I'd like to ask you some questions about that and how a severance in terms of the relationship with ByteDance, how user data, American users' data, would be protected. Now, under Beijing's security laws, Article 7 compels companies to provide data. Article 10 makes the reach of the law extraterritorial. Now, this is very clear. I don't need to read all of it into the record, but those are the laws of the PRC. How does ByteDance, how does TikTok, rather, how do you convince the Congress of the United States that there can be a clean break? Why would the Chinese government sidestep their national law, including Article 7, Article 10, in terms of user data?
Congressman, thank you for the question. I'm glad you asked this. As I said in the opening statement, our plan is to move American data to be stored on American soil by the American company.
I understand that, but you're sidestepping, or I haven't read anything in terms of TikTok, how you can actually say, and you spoke in your opening statement about a firewall relative to the data, but the Chinese government has that data. How can you promise that that will move into the United States of America and be protected here?
Congressman, I have seen no evidence that the Chinese government has access to that data. They have never asked us. We have not provided.
Well, you know what?
I
find that actually preposterous.
I have looked in. I have seen no evidence of this happening. And in order to assure everybody here and all our users, our commitment is to move the data into the United States to be stored on American soil by an American company, overseen by American personnel. So the risk will be similar to any government going to an American company asking for data. If that.
Well, I'm one that doesn't believe that there is really a private sector in China. And when you look at their national law and what specifically these two articles, Article 7 and Article 10, are very clear. So I think that there is a real problem relative to our national security about the protection of the user data. I don't believe that TikTok has, that you have said or done anything to convince us that information, the personal information of 150 million Americans, that the Chinese government is not going to give that up. So can you tell me who writes the algorithms for TikTok?
Today, the algorithm that powers the U.S. user experience is running in the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. Yes, you know, initially there were parts of the source code, especially at the infrastructure layer, that doesn't touch the user experience. Now, that's a collaborative global effort, including built by engineers in China, just like many other companies, by the way. The phone you use, the car you drive is a global collaborative effort. Now, but today, the business sites and the main parts of the code for TikTok is written by TikTok employees. And Congresswoman, what we are offering is third-party monitoring of our source code. I am not aware of any company, American companies or otherwise, that has actually done that. Because we are saying we want to give you transparency and rely on third parties to make sure that we get all the comfort that we need about the experience.
Well, my time is up, and I yield back. Thank you.
Lady yields back. Pleased to yield to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Latta, for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Unlike the Chinese Communist Party, the United States believes in individual freedom, innovation, and entrepreneurship. That is, in part, why Congress enacted Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Our goal is to promote growth of the online ecosystem in the United States and to protect companies from being held liable for good faith efforts to moderate their platforms. Last year, a federal judge in Pennsylvania found that Section 230 protected TikTok from being held responsible for the death of a 10-year-old girl who participated in a blackout challenge, also known as the choking challenge. TikTok actively pushes video on her feed. Unfortunately, this is one of the many devastating examples of children losing their lives because of content promoted by TikTok. Section 230 was never intended to shield companies like yours from amplifying dangerous and life-threatening content to children. Do you consider this to be a good faith moderation?
Congressman, as a father myself, when I hear about the tragic deaths of
My
young
question
people,
is,
it's
do
heartbreaking.
you find that good faith moderation?
Well, Congressman, Section 230 is a very complex issue.
Yes or no?
We are very focused on safety, and all these dangerous challenges are removed when we find them.
Do you believe TikTok deserves this liability protection?
I'm sorry, Congressman.
Do you believe that TikTok deserves this liability protection under Section 230?
Congressman, as you pointed out, 230 has been very important for freedom of expression on the internet. It's one of the commitments we have given to this committee and our users, and I do think it's important to preserve that. But companies should be raising the bar on safety.
Let me follow
I
up.
really agree
Let
with
me
that.
just follow up real quickly from your own testimony. When you told us and you repeated it, we'll keep safety, particularly for teenagers, a top priority for us. When you're saying you're making that following commitment, why did you have to wait till now to make that following commitment now and not having done it before when this 10-year-old lost her life?
Congressman, I'm reiterating the commitment.
Okay.
Internally, in all my priorities, which is public to my employees, safety has always been a priority.
This company is a picture-perfect example of why this committee and Congress needs to take action immediately to amend Section 230. When we recently met, I asked you if the Chinese Communist Party can currently access user data, and you did not have a clear answer. So today I want to follow up. You heard it a little bit, but I want to be absolutely sure of this answer. Are employees of ByteDance subject to Chinese law, including the 2017 National Intelligence Law, which requires any organization or citizen to support, assist, and cooperate with state intelligence work in accordance with the law?
Like many companies, including many American companies, we rely on a global workforce, including engineers in China.
Okay, but no, yes or no?
So in the past, yes.
I'm
in
sorry?
the past, yes, but we are building Project Texas, and we're committing the firewall of all protected data from unwanted foreign access.
Taking that as a yes because, again, on your Article 7, the Article 7 of the 2017 National Intelligence Law, which I just said, because it says, in addition, as was asked a little bit earlier, the 2014 Counter-Espionage Law states that when the state security organ investigates and understands the situation of espionage and collect relevant evidence, the relevant organizations and individuals, it does not say may, it says shall provide it truthfully and may not refuse. Yes or no? Do any ByteDance employees in China, including engineers, currently have access to U.S. user data?
Today, all U.S. user data is stored by default in the Oracle Cloud infrastructure, and access to that is controlled
do any
by American
ByteDance
personnel.
employees in China, including engineers, currently have access to U.S. data?
Congressman, I would appreciate this is a complex topic. Today, all data is stored by
no,
default.
it's not that complex. Yes or no, do they have access to user data?
After Project Texas is done, the answer is no. Today, there is still some
you're
data
saying
that we need
yes,
to delete.
but we've heard
from
already from
Virginia
the
and
ranking member that he hasn't, and that he doesn't really see that Project Texas is going to be useful. So I think I'm taking that as a no because, again, the question is what came to come up earlier, are that on December the 22nd of last year, when ByteDance confirmed some of its Chinese employees had accessed TikTok data to monitor and track the physical location of journals. So I took that as a yes from an earlier answer. You know, earlier this week, you posted a TikTok videos asking American users to mobilize in support of your app and oppose the potential U.S. government action to ban TikTok in the United States. Based on the established relationship between your company and the Chinese Communist Party, it's impossible for me to conclude that the video is anything different than the type of propaganda that the CCP requires Chinese companies to push on its citizens. Now yield back.
Yields back. Chair recognizes the lady from Colorado, Ms. DeGette, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Mr. Chu, like my colleagues, I'm concerned about the influence of China on TikTok and what that does for U.S. users. But I'm also concerned about how the content in TikTok is being distributed, particularly to young people. This is not a problem unique to TikTok, but TikTok has 150 million users in the United States. And so I think you'll agree that TikTok has a particular responsibility to monitor content to make sure that it's safe and accurate. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, I agree with that.
So, you know, I know you said in your opening statement there's a ban or limited for kids under 13 and under 18 and so on. But I know it won't be news for you that computer savvy kids actually can bypass some of those restrictions quite frequently, and they can do it even if they have parental oversight. And so what I want to ask you is rather than putting the burden on young people and parents to accurately put in the birth date and so on when registering for TikTok, I want to ask you what TikTok can do to make sure to monitor this content. And I want to give you some examples of some of the extreme content. Mr. Latta talked about the blackout challenge and some of the dangers to young people's safety, but there's also extreme content around healthcare information. In one study, 13 out of 20 results for the question, does mugwort induce abortion? It talked about herbal so-called abortifacients like papaya seeds, which don't work. And so if people searching for information on safe abortions went on TikTok, they could get devastatingly incorrect information. Another study showed that TikTok had a hydroxychloroquine tutorial on how to fabricate this from grapefruit. Now, there's two problems with that. Number one, hydroxychloroquine is not effective in treating COVID, so that's one issue. The second issue is you can't even make hydroxychloroquine from grapefruit. So again, this is a really serious miscommunication about healthcare information that people looking at TikTok are able to get. And in fact, it's being pushed out to them. So I want to know from you, and I will give you time to answer this. You have current controls, but the current controls are not working to keep this information mainly from young people, but from Americans in general. What more is TikTok doing to try to strengthen its review to keep this information from coming across to people?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. The dangerous misinformation that you mentioned is not allowed on our platform. It violates them.
I'm sorry to report it is on your platform, though.
Congresswoman, I don't think I can sit here and say that we are perfect in doing this. We do work very hard.
So how can you make yourself more perfect? I don't want you to say it's not there or you apologize. What can you do to limit it as much as possible, more than what you're doing now?
We invest a significant amount in our content moderation work. I shared that number in our in my written
I know
testimony.
you're investing,
Yes.
but what steps are you taking to improve the AI or whatever else you're doing to limit this content?
For example, if you search for certain search terms, we do direct you on TikTok to safety resources. That's one of the things we have done. We will continue to invest in this. I recognize and fully align with you that this is a problem that faces our industry, that we need to really invest and address. This, I'm very in alignment. The vast majority of our users come to our platform for entertaining, safe content, but there are people who do spout some dangerous misinformation, and we need to take that very seriously, invest in it, proactively identify it, and remove it from our platform.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right now. I asked you specifically how you're trying to increase your review of this, and you gave me only generalized statements that you're investing, that you're concerned, that you're doing more. That's not enough for me. That's not enough for the parents of America. I'm going to ask you to supplement your testimony and have your experts tell me what you're doing to make this a higher level of scrutiny, not just pablum at a hearing. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you.
Lady yields back. Chair recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Hudson, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman Morris Rogers, for holding this important hearing. I appreciate the witness, Mr. Shoji Chu, for making yourself available here today. While many consider TikTok to be just another video sharing app, in reality, TikTok has been functioning as a massive surveillance program, collecting vast swaths of personal data from more than 1 billion people worldwide. This includes data from the personal devices of federal employees, contractors, and most concerning, U.S. military service members and their families at places like Fort Bragg in North Carolina. As Fort Bragg's congressman, I have serious concerns about the opportunities TikTok gives the Chinese Communist Party to access the non-public sensitive data of our men and women in uniform. This personal data and location information can be harvested and could be used for blackmail, to conduct espionage, and to possibly even reveal troop movements. While the Department of Defense and most agencies have banned TikTok on government-issued devices, I believe more needs to be done at the command level to urge troops and their dependents to erase the app from the personal devices and keep them off home Wi-Fi. Having an app banned on a device in one pocket but downloaded on your device in the other doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I believe Congress and DoD should address the continued use of TikTok on military installations as well as any use that depicts U.S. military operations. Mr. Chu, does TikTok access the home Wi-Fi network?
Only if the user turns on the Wi-Fi. I'm sorry, I may not understand the...
So if I have a TikTok app on my phone and my phone is on my home Wi-Fi network, does TikTok access that network?
It will have to access the network to get connections to the internet, if that's the question.
Is it possible then that it could access other devices on that home Wi-Fi network?
Congressman, we do not do anything that is beyond any industry norms. I believe the answer to your question is no. It could be technical. Let me get back to you.
Okay, I'd appreciate it if you could answer that. I'd like to change directions real quick. Do you receive personal employment, salary, compensation, or benefits from ByteDance?
Yes, I do.
What is your salary from ByteDance?
Congressman, if you don't mind, I would prefer to keep my compensation private.
Okay. Do you personally have any company shares or stock in ByteDance or Douyin?
Congressman, if you don't mind, I would like to keep my personal assets private.
Is TikTok the company your only source of employment compensation? Where's your other source of income outside of TikTok?
It's my only source of compensation.
Do you have any financial debts or obligations to ByteDance, Douyin, or any other ByteDance affiliated entity?
Personally? No, I do not.
Does your management team receive separate salary, compensation, or benefits from ByteDance?
We receive salaries from the entities that we are employed in, but we do share in the employee stock option plan that is available from the ByteDance top company.
So your primary salary comes from TikTok, but you have other compensation that comes directly from ByteDance?
You can characterize it as that, yes.
Does your management team have company shares or stock in ByteDance or Douyin?
Yes, some of our employees are compensated in shares in ByteDance.
Does TikTok share technological resources with Douyin? Are the two technology systems or IT systems interconnected in any way?
There are, as with many companies, some shared resources on some services, but it doesn't include anything that involves U.S. user data, Congressman, is in Project Texas, as we talked about, stored by default in American soil by an
It will
American
be,
company.
but currently there is shared technology or interconnected IT systems.
Congressman, with respect, I have to get back to you. This could be a very broad question. Like, for example, we could all be using Microsoft Windows.
Yeah, if you could get back with details on that, I'd appreciate
Yes.
it. Can Douyin personnel or employees access TikTok user data?
Not after Project Texas, this is not allowed.
Are there employees who are employed by both Douyin and TikTok?
I do not believe so.
Okay. And so I don't believe so. Is that it? I mean, again, I'll allow you to come back in a written response if you could give me a definitive answer.
I will go back and check to be very sure.
Okay, thank you. I'm also concerned about an issue that our chairwoman brought up about an apparent pattern of misinformation or misrepresentation from your company in regards to the amount and extent of data that you're collecting, as well as how much has been accessed from inside China. There are dozens of public reports that conclude individuals in the People's Republic of China have been accessing data on U.S. users, directly contradicting several public statements by TikTok employees. And I'm referencing Project Raven, which was first reported on by Forbes last October. Their investigation revealed, I'm sorry, I'm about out of time. Do you want to respond to that?
Yes, Congressman. We do not condone the effort by certain former employees to access U.S. TikTok user data in an attempt to identify the source of leaked confidential information. We condemn these actions. After learning about them, we found a highly reputable law firm to thoroughly investigate the incident. We took swift disciplinary action against employees who were found to be involved and are implementing measures to make sure this doesn't happen again. We have made this team available to you. I think they have briefed many of you in this committee very extensively, and I will continue to make them very available to you as part of our transparent commitment.
Thank you. My time's expired. I yield back.